Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm giving a trigger warning to this video that I'm putting out because it's disturbing. It is truth, but it is disturbing, and so it is just a trigger warning. I'm not here to scare people. I'm a very optimistic person by nature. And if you're a Christian, then this is an exciting time that God has chosen us to possibly be in the end times that have always been written about in the Bible. Back in when this stuff was written, the apostles thought that they were going to see this ending, this prophecy, but it looks like it might be us. Stay tuned. And I apologize ahead of time. I thought I had my do not disturb on, but there are a few notifications come through, so I apologize, and God bless you, and I love you guys. Hello everyone. Please listen. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom, but I love you guys, and I'm trying to just let you think, okay? Think about what is going on. Putin threatens to bring the Zacharias flesh-rotting nuclear war. As for those peoples that warred against Yerushalayim, Hashem will smite them with this plague. Their flesh shall rot away while they stand on their feet. Their eyes shall rot away in their sockets, and their tongues shall rot away in their mouths. Zechariah 14:12. All right. For the third time this month, Russian President Vladimir Putin is threatening to deploy tactical nuclear weapons. Should this threat be realized, it would conform to several aspects of the Gog and Magog war as described by the prophets. Earlier this month, before invading Ukraine, Putin responded to the threats by Western countries to intervene should he decide to invade. Of course, military potential of NATO and Russia are incomparable. We understand it, Putin said at a press conference, but we also understand that Russia is one of the leading nuclear states, and by some modern components, it may outperform many. Last week, Putin warned that whoever tries to hinder us in Ukraine would see consequences you have never seen in your history. This threat took on ominous proportions on Sunday when he ordered the Russian defense minister and the chief of the military's general staff to put nuclear deterrent forces on a special regime of combat duty. You guys hear that? He told defense chiefs it was because of aggressive statements by the West amid widespread condemnation of his invasion of Ukraine. This was intensified on Sunday when the government of Belarus, a Russian ally, approved constitutional changes that would allow Russian forces and nuclear weapons to be stationed in the country. Belarus is expected to send troops into Ukraine at any moment. White House spokesman Jen Psaki emphasized that the U.S. does not consider Putin's statements to constitute an immediate threat. This is really a pattern that we've seen from President Putin through the course of this conflict, which is manufacturing threats that don't exist in order to justify further aggression. And the global community and the American people should look at it through that prism, Psaki told ABC's George Stephanopoulos on This Week. According to the Federation of American Scientists, Russia has just under 4,500 nuclear warheads in its stockpile, making it the largest military superpower in the world today. The U.S. ambassador to the United States Nations, Linda Thomas Greenfield, responded to the veiled threat at a United Nations Security Council meeting on Sunday. It means that President Putin is continuing to escalate this war in a manner that is totally unacceptable, and we have to continue to stem his actions in the strongest possible way. UK Defense Secretary Ben Wallace said Putin was engaged in a battle of rhetoric, but trying to remind the world he had a deterrent. We don't see or recognize in the sort of phrase or the status he described as anything that is a change to what they have currently as a nuclear posture, Wallace said. This is predominantly about Putin putting it on the table just to remind people and remind the world that he has a deterrent. While world leaders wonder whether Putin would follow through with his threats, a hint of his rationale was given in a 2018 documentary when he commented that if someone decides to annihilate Russia, we have the legal right to respond. Yes, it will be a catastrophe for humanity and for the world, But I'm a citizen of Russia and it's a head of state. Why do we need a world without Russia in it? Putin's ominous statements were made with a new wave of sanctions. Western nations and NATO allies also began financing weapons for Ukraine. Also, the European Union announced a total ban in its airspace for Russian-owned, Russian-registered, or Russian-controlled aircraft. Russian planes have also been banned from UK airspace. The EU also barred Russian state media outlets Sputnik and Russia Today from our territory. Germany said its ban would last 3 months. The restrictions on flights will require Russian airlines to take circuitous routes. Sorry if I said that wrong, resulting in longer flight times. Russia responded with similar bans on European flights. Putin has stated that the Western sanctions placed on Russia were unlawful. It is assumed that Ukraine does not have nuclear weapons. Prior to 1991, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union and had Soviet nuclear weapons in its territory. After the dissolution of the Soviet Union, Ukraine held about 1/3 of the Soviet nuclear arsenal, totaling approximately 900 warheads, the third largest in the world at the time, as well as significant means of its design and production. In 1994, at the behest of U.S. President Bill Clinton, Ukraine agreed to hand over its nuclear stockpile to Russia for dismantlement and to join the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons. This was done with the expressed assurances from the U.S. and Britain that the Soviet Union would not invade Ukraine. Ukraine lacked the resources to dismantle these nuclear assets. When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Ukraine still held a total of 176 nuclear warheads and several means of deployment. These agreements were clearly violated in 2014 when Russia invaded and subsequently annexed the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine. Obama was quietly criticized for his response, which was limited to sanctions, precisely the strategy President Biden has stated he intends to employ in the current crisis. British Defense Secretary: we maintain Britain's nuclear readiness at the highest level. Russia's defense minister has told President Putin that the nuclear triad is on standby alert duty and is reinforced personnel. Should the war escalate into nuclear weapons, this would conform to a Gog and Magog scenario. The war of oh my goodness, should have put my notifications on. The war of Gog and Magog is described in prophecy as being an unusually short war, a tradition from the Vilna Gaon. A prominent 18th century Torah authority teaches that the war of Gog and Magog will last 12 minutes. According to the 20th century interpretation, 1/3 of the world will die, 1/3 will suffer from plague, and 1/3 will survive. The 18th century prophecy of a 12-minute war was surprising as it came back several hundred years before the advent of nuclear weapons. Conventional wars necessarily last much longer, and such a quick war was inconceivable at that time, but such a short war, possibly a nuclear exchange, may have been hinted at in the Bible. At eventide, behold terror, and before the morning they are not. Isaiah 17:14. The prophecy hints at a swift and all-encompassing catastrophe similar to nuclear war. Another prophecy hints at the gruesome after effects of nuclear war, described by the prophet Zechariah in reference to the pre-Messiah war of Gog and Magog. As for those people that warred against Yerushalayim, Hashem will smite them with this plague. Their flesh shall rot away while they stand on their feet. Their eyes shall rot away in their sockets, and their tongues shall rot away in their mouths. Zechariah 14:12. Sounds a lot like nuclear, doesn't it, guys? I don't know what else it could be. Israel 365 is currently undergoing efforts to bring Jews trapped in Ukraine back to Israel. Okay, guys, please. I'm not doing this to scare you, but you might as well. I mean, it's like saying there's a car coming, but you don't tell somebody because you don't want to scare them. You tell them because you want them to get out of the way and do the right thing. And that's why I'm telling you, you can take it or you can leave it. It's your choice. But you guys, the Bible has not been wrong. The Bible is accurate, okay? This is going to happen. Whether or not this is it, I cannot tell you. God has not told me anything. But I tell you what, it sure sounds like it. I love you and God bless you and have a wonderful night.